Hey guys, welcome to the Muse of Maverick channel. It's Maverick here today to talk about what anime I'm watching for the winter 2021 season. Now, some of you may have already watched my video with Mallet of Culture where we went through nearly all the anime of next season, stated our opinions, and went back and forth on whether we're watching it or not. If you haven't seen that and you're interested, feel free to check that out. Link will be up there somewhere, and maybe down there somewhere. But it is over an hour long, right? And I know you guys are all busy as well. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? So this is more of a summary video where I talk about my final selection and also maybe give a 30-second reason as to why I am watching it. So consider this a TLDR, if you will. Beyond that, one thing to note is that next season is composed mostly of, well, I can't say mostly of sequels, but there are a lot of sequels, right? And so, I really can't fit that many more original anime into the schedule. I do have a full-time job, I have other hobbies as well, other commitments. I can only devote so much time per day to do these kinds of things, right? So, I feel bad for leaving some stuff out, but, it is what it is, right? So hopefully you guys can understand that as well. So, without further ado, let's get into the actual selections. Alright, first up, returning from last season, or the fall 2020 season, is Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm sure this comes as no surprise to anyone. This is a pretty good series, and to be honest, I found myself enjoying this a lot more than I thought I would have. At first glance, I thought this was just, your normal shonen kind of thing. Maybe a little bit more darker, perhaps maybe Bleach-esque, something like that. But hey, not only are the visuals really good, I like the character designs, I like the various abilities they use and all that. The animation is stellar as well, but also one thing that was a huge bonus for me was the the actual main character Itadori, right? I actually really like his character, and I like how he goes into situations, even though he does still hold a sort of idealistic attitude, he changes his idealistic attitude, right? And literally the last episode of this first cour, or actually it's not even first cour, right? Just this first half of this season, there was some growth forced upon Itadori, and he basically sucked it up, right? He gritted his teeth and did what needed to be done. I can respect him for that. So I'm enjoying this a lot, and I will definitely be continuing it for the next season. And next up, the start of many sequels for this season, we have Yakusoku no Neverland, aka The Promised Neverland. So back when season 1 aired, this was one of my favorite from that season. Initially, I was kind of put off by the sort of art style that they went for, but it absolutely works. The visuals are great, and added together with the sound design, I feel like it really made it into a very good, very compelling effect, right? You really get that sense of dread. Are we going to get discovered? Are we going to get detected? That kind of thing. Your heart is pumping along with the characters as well. And that's something that the anime does really well. I also enjoyed the little mind games that they were playing with each other, like Ray and Emma and Norman, and versus, the various antagonists of the series. Last season we ended on a point where they were just starting to go out into the world, so we're just starting to get into the story, right? The world building and whatnot, we're just getting started with that. I'm definitely looking forward to it, and also putting forth my theories as to, how the world became this way, or what exactly you can do to get out of this very dark situation. Anyways, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are as well. And next up, we have Dr. Stone, Stone Wars, the second season of Dr. Stone. I have already read through the manga, as those of you who have watched my season 1 reaction will know. I knew of the manga first, and, I was super excited when it got an adaptation, but also kind of hesitant at the same time, because to me, honestly, the events of the first season are literally the most boring parts of the entire Dr. Stone manga, right? The good stuff, the actual good stuff, really comes later. Although, apparently, it was already quite popular, and indeed, even those that are anime only apparently like it a lot, even from just the initial episodes and chapters and whatnot. But all I can say is, it just continues to climb up, baby. It goes way, way up. You know, you have seen nothing yet. The abilities of Senku, man, you know, if you really sit down and think about it seriously, it's actually really, really ridiculous, but that's also the entertaining part of all of it. And by the end of the Stone Wars, if they're going to end at where I think they're going to end, you'll really get to see a lot more of the actual main story of this world, of this series, as well as really start to understand like how much of like how ridiculous the things that Senku is going to do and is going to try to do are going to be, right? It just gets completely bonkers. So I can't wait for that as well. Alrighty, next up we have That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime second season. That is such a mouthful, I just always call it Tensura, which is the Japanese abbreviation for it. Now, what can we say about this, right? You know, I did enjoy the first season as well, even though it is kind of a, how can I put it? It's definitely not as dramatic as maybe a lot of the later isekais or reincarnations, that kind of thing. But no, it does have its charm, right? And there's just something really compelling about watching a slime suddenly, you know, beat up every single other person in the in the world that they are in, right? Now, if we are looking at it more seriously, at the end of the first season, I feel like we finally stepped out of our, you know, our little forest that Rimuru was at, and we started to travel out into the world, right? And indeed, the world is huge. Again, one of the things I really love about isekais is the world building that they do, and the various systems and mechanics that they build, and so on and so forth. You know, I'm a nerd for those kind of things, right? So, I do enjoy sort of theorizing about the various mechanics and systems in the world of Tensura as well. So, I am going to be looking forward to this as well, and hopefully we will be getting a lot more other characters, not just monsters, but actual humanoids or various other races as well. Continuing on, it's ReZero, right? So, the continuing suffering of Subaru. I have a lot of theories in regards to the entire thing with the witches and whatnot, particularly Satilla, the Witch of Envy, and also the relationship between her and Emilia, and also with Subaru as well. But let's be honest here, it's probably not going to be resolved in the next season. I don't even know if it's been resolved in the light novels yet. What I can look forward to, though, and what I'm hoping for from the next season, is for Emilia to get a bit more chance to shine, right? Like, sure, I get it, she's the emotional support for Subaru and all that, she's had a tragic past, you know, let's develop her already, right? I want to learn more about her, what is her past, and can she actually, you know, can we actually give her some opportunity to do something, right? And, you know, honestly, in the entire ReZero series, I am enjoying the capable and competent antagonists a lot more. I do like it when the series throws these nearly insurmountable hurdles at the main character, and then the main character is in charge of trying to figure a way to solve it, and perhaps not even solving it to the, you know, to their liking, right? For instance, the entire part with Roswell and all that, you know, I loved it. I'm sure lots of people are like, Roswell, I want to kill you or whatnot, but I'm just like, hell yeah, this is an entertaining plot we got here. So, anyways, that's what I'm looking forward to ReZero, and I have no doubt that it's gonna be great as well. And next up, we have the second season of Beastars. So this was definitely a hidden gem for me from that season. I'm sure that some will be like, oh yeah, I already knew of the series already, but I didn't, alright? And indeed, just from a first look at it, the visuals and whatnot, it wasn't exactly something that I was interested in. I'm not a furry or whatnot, and I don't, no, even if I'm not a furry, like, anamorphic characters, whatever, right? However, the story of Beastars is actually really, really compelling. I find it to be quite mature in the way it handles things as well, and most of all, there is actually a reason for them to be these animalistic characters, right? Because we have the entire concept of carnivores versus herbivores here. So it's not just a case of, you know, making them animals for the sake of it, but it actually fits an integral part of the story as well. So yeah, I definitely love it. For those of you who have watched my first season reviews and reactions as well, you probably know that I'm actually a little bit more on the carnivore side than the herbivore side, because, you know, I do think that, especially when we're talking about these kinds of animals, the natural instincts and whatnot, you know, I go at length as to the sort of philosophical discussions in regards to the entire series. So if you guys are interested, do check that out. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more in the second season as well, and I can't wait for that. And continuing on with the sequels, we got Yuru Camp Season 2. So, as of the time that I'm making this video, I'm actually in the midst of Season 1, and I can say I absolutely love it. I love the fluffiness, I love the educational stuff that they put in there, I love the visuals, the soundtracks and whatnot, and also the characters as well, right? It actually surprised me a lot with the way that they did some of the character interactions, they did some of the events, and so on and so forth. And pleasant surprise, but still, most of all, right? Most of all, we can say that it is indeed a really fluffy and warming series, a very healing series, if you will, as is the term that's commonly used here. It's definitely a stress reliever. I like to watch it after a hard day at work or whatnot, and you know, it does manage to bring the educational side as well. Like, I'm no stranger to cute girls doing cool things, not cute things, cool things, right? And I do feel like this series managed to do it very, very well. And hey, to me, there's not really much for me to analyze about this, right? So I can just shut off my brain and just be like, ah, that's so nice and comfy and warm and all of that. And hey, if you guys would like to see that, well, come along and watch as well. Now, with that being said, there are some copyright problems I'm getting with this series, but I'll do my best. And hey, if it works, it works. If not, well, you know, tough luck, right? And finally, rounding out the sequels for me this season, we got Cells at Work Season 2, or double exclamation mark, right? So, there's not really too much for me to say about this anime. You know, from the analytical point of things, there's people far more qualified than I am, like actual medical professionals or medical students and whatnot, that they're already doing their own analysis and commentary on all of this. I'm just along for the ride, right? But with that being said, I do really enjoy the creative ways that the author manages to represent all these various different cells, all these various different functions of the body, and so on and so forth, and that extends to the antagonist side as well, right? The various viruses, the various bacteria, or any other problems that, you know, a human person might be facing in real life. So, I think that's pretty much it. Can't wait to see them all come back, of course, and, you know, Macrophage, best girl. And that makes a nice segue into the first non-sequel that I'm watching this season, which is Cells at Work Black, right? So probably a lot of you guys already know this is the more darker cousin or darker relative to Cells at Work. I actually read the manga for both of these series, including Black as well, and yeah, it's definitely a lot darker, right? You no longer get that sunshine kind of feeling for the original Cells at Work, you know, where everybody is nice to each other and helping each other out and whatnot. The Cells at Work Black is just, I would say it's a more realistic take on things, right? Where you got workers being overworked and they're having some attitudes, they're snapping at each other, so on and so forth. And it deals with a lot of real life issues as well, like smoking, like unprotected sex, like so on and so on and so forth, right? So I do enjoy it. I can't really say which one I enjoy more. I think they each have their own merits, but definitely the issues that we face in Black is let's just say it raises the stakes a lot more, right? And to me, I do find that quite more entertaining as well, in terms, you know, just from an anime perspective or from a work perspective. So, definitely looking forward to this as well, and I am going to be quite curious to see, like, you know, eventually which side wins out in the popularity polls or the rating polls for anime viewers. So, there we go. And speaking of black and darker and grittier, we go to the final non-sequel that I'm watching for this season, which is Redo of Healer. So this is a light novel, or actually it's also been adapted into manga as well, that I've read a little bit already. And let me say, like, this is what I always say: whatever you feel for Shotaro, for Naofumi and whatnot, like, it doesn't even begin to compare with what this guy went through in this series. Like this to me is always the referencing point of a revenge story that I go to. Did they suffer as much as this guy did? Now, with that being said, I will have to warn you guys that this is definitely not a series for those who can't stand morally questionable things, or you need the main characters to be likable, to be to be a paragon of virtue, to stand for justice, and so on and so forth. If you require that kind of main character, don't watch this. You will absolutely get angry at all of this. The main character of this series, even though he definitely has his reasons for turning this way, is not a good guy. All right, I'm just gonna say it right here. He is definitely a morally questionable person. However, if you are more of a cynical kind of dude, or maybe you can accept these kinds of things a little bit more, look at it from a more realistic, rational kind of standpoint, and be more accepting of morally gray stuff, this just might be the series for you, right? Now, unfortunately, the first thing that came to my mind when I knew that they were doing an adaptation was that I feel like they might tone down the actual darkness and morally questionable things a little bit, just to make it more suitable for the anime and whatnot, right? So it is possible that they go that route. I certainly hope not, but let's just say that if they do adapt it as it originally happened and whatnot, yeah, there is going to be a lot of salt and complaints and threats and so on and so forth on the various social media. And it's at that time like this that I am glad I do not do those things. So anyways, that's it for Redo of Healer. You guys have been warned. But if this is your thing, and I would like to presume that probably a lot of people who are longtime watchers of my channel maybe can stomach this a little bit more, I do welcome you to come along for the ride. And finally, we got the non-seasonal works I'm watching for this season. Now, even though it is already quite packed, I mean, I don't really like to stop a series midway through. I'm already watching Code Geass. I definitely will be continuing on as well. It's a pretty long series, so that's why I was so hesitant on starting it in the first place, but if I'm starting, by God, am I finishing it. And it is definitely very entertaining, right? Lushu and the entire situation with the Empire and whatnot, and then we got Suzaku as well. There's definitely a lot of things to talk about for this series. So, hopefully you guys have been enjoying this as well. If there's any new viewers here, hey, you're welcome to join on along the ride as well. And finally, rounding out the stuff that I'm watching for this season, I am going to be picking up the Monogatari series again with Tsukimonogatari. So, I actually really like the Monogatari series, and for those of you who have been joining along the ride thus far, you probably also know that already. It's just that I had to take a break to try and clear out some of my backlog, some other stuff that I wanted to do and wanted to watch, and so on and so forth. But definitely, I can't wait to pick this up once again and continue on to the end, right? So, definitely look forward to that. It's probably not going to be on Mondays, unfortunately, so I can't do my Monday Monogataris anymore, but, it definitely will be continuing to watch through. So, look forward to that. And there we go. That's it for winter 2021. Obviously, there are a few more that I would like to watch if I have the time. I have 4 already as my candidates: Mushoku Tensei, Horimiya, and Jakuchara Tomazaki-kun. And also Uma Musume Season 2 as well. Those 4 are basically like next on the list. If I had the time, I definitely would have wanted to watch them. The first 3, the original works that they are based off of, are really highly regarded, so I do want to see what it's all about. Uma Musume, it's also quite the popular franchise as well, and hey, sometimes you just want to watch some ridiculous things, right? But unfortunately, you can't have it all, and I think that's pretty much it as a stopping point for now. Obviously, if something happens, like for instance, if Redo of Healer does turn out to be too watered down, or maybe Yuru Camp, the copyright issues start cropping up and whatnot, I might, switch in some of the other series as well. But, at this point, I do feel that it's probably it's actually already a bit more than I want to do typically in a season. I typically only want to watch 9 at most. So this is already kind of stretching it, right? And trust me, you guys don't want me to burn out either, because otherwise I won't be able to do this anymore, right? So there we go. That's it for now. Let me know if I missed anything, or you do want to make a very compelling case for one of the anime or works on this list. I will at least try to add it into my backlog, if you will, even though that backlog is also ever growing and doesn't show any sign of stopping. So, there we go, and if you guys do want to check out the longer thought process and whatnot, once again, feel free to check out the longer video that I did with Matlat, which will be linked up there, and hey, I will see you guys in winter.